Alright, so we got the Wrench Rabbit box. Let's check out what comes in here. So you open it up and you get a full set of gaskets. These are from Vertex. I've used Vertex in the past, haven't had any issues with them. This comes with all your gaskets, top and bottom end, center cases, O-rings, like water pump stuff. It comes with top end gaskets like your valve seals, new exhaust gasket, cam chain tensioner gasket. Every gasket that you're going to need to get the job done comes with that. Let's see. We got your bottom end bearings. So it comes with a set of hot rod crank bearings and seals. Need those. Let's see. Oil seals. Comes with your new oil seals for the bike. In this, there should be, unless this is it right here, it's a whole different one, yeah. Yeah, these are going to be all your internal oil seals. And this is what I was about to talk about. They give you a water pump rebuild kit. Now, on the 2008, yes, it does happen. But mostly in my experience, because I've owned all of them, 02 to 05, had a really big problem with leaking gaskets around the water pump. I would always change at least 2 to 3 of them a season in a race season. I kept a big strip of them because I knew that I would need them a lot. But this kit comes with the seals that you would need, a new water pump shaft bearing, and the gasket. So that's good. The 06 to 08s, I've had a few of those bikes, and I've maybe gone through like a quarter of what I used to go through when I owned an 03 and an 05. Those ones seem to chew up water pump gaskets. Moving on though, we got a new cam chain, also obviously from Hot Cams. This is something that gets overlooked a lot when people are rebuilding their bikes and they're doing either a top end or a bottom end or the whole thing. Sometimes, more often than not, when I talk to somebody, they don't change their cam chain. If you want to see what happens to a bike when a cam chain breaks, it's nasty. Alright, other than this thing flailing around in there, all of a sudden your bike's out of time, valves start going wherever they want, typically into the cylinder. It makes a nice mess. So do your cam chain. Let's see, we got transmission bearings. So we got all the transmission bearing kits, so all the bearings for the transmission. We'll get totally done there. Let's see. Counterbalancer. That's also another problem area that was on the earlier model CRFs, not so much on these ones. I actually have, knock on wood, I've never had on this 2007 that I have a countershaft seal or bearing go bad. But the countershaft balancer goes through the cases, and there's bearings and seals obviously to keep the two oils separate. And how you know really typically if one of those is going bad is if you find either your transmission or your engine oil gets low or high on either side abnormally quick. It's sucking oil from one side or the other. On these models, they have separate oils, engine oil and tranny oils, two different sumps. The newer ones like my 17, it's all one, but the older ones, they have those seals that separate the two, and for whatever reason the 02 to 05s just have a real big issue with those seals going bad. I don't know if the tolerances were just off on those years or what, but if you have an older one like that, that's something to keep an eye on. And if you're doing anything that has to do with the bottom end, just save yourself the time and replace those. What else we got? We got new Vertex piston. This is the B size. So without, miking out the cylinder, B's pretty safe. So it comes with everything you need. Got wrist pin clips, the new piston, then the new rings and some instructions in there. I don't care how many times I've done a new piston, I always have to refer to the manual to index the rings the way that they want it. I know as long as you don't have two of them overlapping each other, you should be good, but I like to do it the way that the OEM wants done. And they're very specific about that. And then here finally we've got the crank. So I have never ever had any issues with hot rod cranks. Wiseco, different story. Not to shit on Wiseco, and I hear that they've changed their game up a little bit, but I rebuilt a bike, CRF450, and used Wiseco products, and within 2 hours the wrist pin, or not the wrist pin, but the rod sheared in half and totally smoked a brand new motor. The customer, he contacted Wiseco himself, and they ended up reimbursing him, the money for the parts and labor. So they made it good, but that was just one of a million horror stories I heard about Wiseco. So I'm a little leery of it. Like I said, I heard they've changed, but it's either OEM or hot rods for me. I've had great success with these parts, and they are, as good as OEM or exceed. So we got a new crank, comes completely assembled, put together, ready to drop in. So that was a good shipment of parts. I don't know what I'm going to do with the head yet. I know just from having it apart this summer that the seats on it are pretty much junk. I took the valves out and used some Sharpie and just did a make-believe lap-in on them just to see where the contact was, and it contacted enough of what was left of the valve seats to actually make a seal, but obviously they're not getting the best flow. And you'll see the seats when I take the head apart. I'll show that to you. But that being said, I don't know what I'm going to do. If I'm going to send that head out and get it redone, or if I'm going to just order a new OEM head and then put all new OEM valves and springs and stuff in there. Or I have my other 07 that needs a new engine rebuild too, so it's going to get the same kit. But I thought about taking that head off of there and putting a new one on my bike, and that one that's probably a season or two old on this bike. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I'm leaning towards just putting the brand new one on the 08, so whoever gets the 08 one, it'll be completely brand new and worry free for at least a year or two before you start getting some shimming that needs to be done. But that's what I think I'm going to do, and then I'll ship out that head, get the seats redone, maybe send it to like Race Tech or something and have them do that, and maybe do some work to it, something just mild, just clean up the castings and whatnot, and then put that in my 07. Then take the head off the 07, put that in stock in case something happens, like last year when my 17 decided that it wanted to become a grenade and blew everything apart. Luckily I had a spare head for it with valves in it ready to go. So it's always good to have spare parts like that. It sounds ridiculous to have a spare head with valves in it shimmed and ready to go with a cam, and a cylinder and piston and crank and all that stuff, but you'd be surprised what you can fix right at the track. If I have the parts, I can fix pretty much anything at the track. Of course, this whole trailer comes with me, and I don't have a garage, so I do everything in this trailer, so all my tools are with me. So as long as I have the parts, I can pretty much rebuild a motor overnight at the track. So all that stuff in stock helps. So if you have a Honda and you have something bad happen, come find me. I probably got what you need, which has been done before. Anyway, I'm going to box this stuff back up. And then, yeah, we'll go from there. And we'll check you later. See ya. So I also wanted to take the time to show you what else is going on in here. Because it's not just this bike. I got my other two bikes that I got to do as well this season, off season. But I figured I'd show you what's going on in here. There's a few things I need to get done before I can really dig into this, just so that I have enough room to do everything the way I want it to get done. But let me show you around here real quick. So there's the 08, getting ready to be very patient. And we got the 07, and then the 17. Now the 17, the suspension is with Mr. Eric Block. He is massaging it and rebuilding and putting some new fluid in and checking everything and making sure everything's nice and pretty, as he would put it. But I'm just waiting to get that stuff back. And then also I have a quick shifter coming that'll be on this bike to complement the Power Commander 5 and the DynoJet Auto Tune. Now the Auto Tune, man, it's just I know people always say it, and I probably say it a lot too, but I don't know how the heck I ever did it without, at least on a fuel injected bike, without the auto tuner. Especially after, like, I blew up this bike and had to rebuild it before the last round. I didn't have time to get it back on a dyno. I mean, hell, I finished rebuilding the bike Friday when it started raining and I couldn't ride this bike anymore. I stopped and I finished rebuilding this bike. I had a part overnighted to the track. But you know, that being said, there was no time to dyno it and tune it, because now, you know, it was a completely 100% stock motor. So the tune that I had in here would not work because it was tuned for something else. But with the auto tuner, I was able to, with the help of Mr. Eric Block, because he is a little computer magician too, as well as a suspension guru. We put a map in here, asked for some certain things, went out, did the auto tune session a couple of times, got it dialed, and the thing was running mint by race time. I mean, I did a new PB on a completely 100% stock motor. So something to be said about these little toys. I hated playing with stuff like this, and I didn't want to, you know, do it, but now that I've done it, I'm glad I am. So the quick shifter is next. I never wanted one, never liked one. Until I rode Blocks. When I blew this up, he was kind enough to let me race his motorcycle for the weekend, and it had a quick shifter on it, and you know, I had some other bells and whistles, and so I'm getting ready to go out for practice and on his bike, and I've never ridden it before, and you know, he's got a steering dampener on it, quick shifter, a few other things, you know, different maps. And, you know, I'm asking him to just, you know, completely tame this thing down. I don't want a quick shifter. I don't want the steering dampener. You know, and as I'm asking for that, overrules Eric Shaw. And he's had lots of fun on Mr. Block's bikes. He knows what they're all about. And he caught wind of what we were talking about. He goes, oh, no. Leave all that shit on for him. I want him to experience everything and know what he's been missing out on. So I was like, oh, here we go. Needless to say, I loved it. So quick shifters on the way. I think, you know, the quick shifter is really nice, but where I think it shines the most, at least for me, for you Loudon peeps, you know what I'm talking about, is turn 7, after hitting the apex of the bowl and coming up, you know, and grabbing that one upshift as you're getting ready for 7 to flick for 8. For me, it's really hard sometimes to get my foot under the shift lever and get, you know, a good complete shift. Sometimes I either, you know, miss the shift or only get like a half shift, and you got to really focus on that. Then you start putting, you know, some chassis input into it because you're cranking on the bars, and, you know, you're letting go with your legs to try to get your foot under, and there's a lot to be said for just being able to boop, touch the shifter and it goes. So that's mainly what I wanted for, but it was nice. So as soon as that one gets all set, I can roll this thing out and put this in some storage area. This one, I thought I blew it up when I was riding Penguin the last Friday in the rain, going down the front straightaway. It just all of a sudden just died on me. So I immediately pulled the clutch in and coached it up against the wall in between 1 and 2, and just sat there and waited for practice to be over, and pushed it over. And like I said, I still had to finish building this one, so I was like, all right, this is a sign, put this one up, finish building this one. But when I got home and I drained the coolant out of this to put it away for the winter, I took the belly pan off and found a little short 8mm bolt, and that 8mm bolt looked awfully familiar, and I looked, and sure as shit, it was the bottom bolt from, I don't know if you can see in here, but right down in there, it holds a coil on, the bottom one, and it came off. So I'm guessing it probably lost ground, right? That's what I'm thinking in my head. Maybe, fingers crossed, that's what happened. So I had just drained the coolant, but you know, you can run these things for a minute or two without coolant. So I put the bolt back in, tightened everything down, kicked it, 2 kicks, fired right up. So I'm hoping that that's all it was, and I didn't smoke the piston in the cylinder. Regardless, it's getting torn completely down and gone through. So I'll do that, but I'll feel better about myself if it didn't blow up. You know, I'm going to put a new piston and a new cylinder in this one this year, and I'll put that stuff in stock in case something catastrophic happens and I need a piston and a cylinder. So that's the plan. So when these 2 bikes get done, is really when I want to dive into this. So I'm just waiting for my suspension to come back, the quick shifter on the 17, and then I can start working on this one maybe. I don't know. I might wait on my 07 just so, because I'm really anxious to get this one going. I'm pretty excited about this project. So anyway, that's the plan. That's where we're at. Yeah, it's gonna be pretty cool. Anyway, I hope this is gonna work out. I don't mind doing it. This is pretty cool, especially when we get to like building the motor. It'll be fun to take you along on the trip and keep me entertained this winter. It's gonna be a long off season for me. How about you guys? So anyway, we'll check you later. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you.